Valve is a company which kind of seems to hate Microsoft's approaches for quite some time now. Okay, that's a fair point. Oh, this is going to be spicy. Trust me when I tell you this. Valve's involvement in the Linux gaming space with SteamOS and the Steam Deck is only a fraction of what they're actually building. And it's bigger than anything that we've achieved so far. Be it for the better or the worse. Let's get into it, how Valve is going to change gaming forever right after you press that like button, and why not also subscribe to the channel while you're at it. Thanks. Okay, so I'm actually really excited for this video because I never really sat down and thought about Valve's involvement in making Steam available on the open source operating system Linux. It all started off with a blog post all the way back in 2012. At the time, Microsoft was trying to innovate Windows by changing its design, user-friendliness and some other minor controversial stuff. But what they also started to increasingly advertise was their Windows Store and integration with Xbox. And frankly, many didn't really like that, since all of these changes were, of course, designed to keep you locked in the Windows environment. And Valve, and especially their CEO Gabe Newell, weren't really pleased with this approach. The solution then? Just use something else. But unlike other companies like Sony, Nintendo and for some reason even Microsoft themselves, Valve took a different route. They wanted to rely on Linux as their gaming driver, and even went as far as building a whole operating system called SteamOS on top of it. But one might ask, why? Why did Valve, a company that develops and sells games, decide to choose an open source platform that keeps changing constantly and makes developing games even harder than it already is? Well, there could be personal reasons behind this, but honestly, it was probably just due to money. Be that as it may, over the years, Valve pushed Linux gaming. And boy, how they pushed it! SteamOS, custom consoles, custom native ports, and finally developing Proton. Proton is a collection of several different solutions which can translate Windows-specific requests, for example something like DirectX, to something open source like Vulkan and OpenGL. And it was with this compatibility layer that gaming on Linux has become as easy as never before. Linux, in comparison to Windows, has many advantages that can be beneficial for gaming. For once, most distributions are way lighter than Windows, which means less need for storage, but also less processes in the background that dampen your FPS or even crash your PC in some rare cases. But Linux's biggest strength by far is its open source nature. You know those videos and guides that promise you the best possible performance? Yeah, that's mostly optimizing what is running here, on top of the operating system. On Linux, we can go all the way down. But as of right now, gaming on Linux still has a lot of problems that need to be solved. It's mostly compatibility issues because some vendors just don't pay attention or a game uses anti-cheat and the developer does not enable support. Be the reasoning as it may. But besides that, Valve and its involvement with Linux has come a long way. I played Sonic Frontiers day one with zero issues. I've heard that there were some problems on the Steam Deck, but this already shows that it's not even a direct problem of the compatibility layer. Honestly, this year I expect a new game which does not utilize any fancy version of anti-cheat will just work. Really impressive. But enough of that. Why the video? This is not supposed to be a praising game and Valve video, because what they are building is something way bigger. Even bigger than they themselves might realize. Imagine a world whereas Linux is being as gaming compatible as any other console. Do you even know how many devices run on Linux or are just based on it? If they can manage to run Proton, and honestly it's not that unlikely, then we could game on a Fire TV stick, for example. What about a Chromecast? Sure, you wouldn't be able to play anything in 3D, but light 2D games could just work like that. Console vendors would not need to build a custom operating system and game ports to compete with an Xbox or PlayStation. All they need is a Linux distro, Proton, and it runs. They don't even need to rely on Steam and could still offer closed-down stores, but the principle behind it stands. You can sell a device with a working open-source operating system for basically no effort at all. And who the heck wouldn't like some competitiveness on the market? We are lucky that Valve is behind Proton because they have the money and resources to keep developing and improve upon. But what they are building is not a monopoly like Microsoft or Apple aim to achieve, but something that literally anyone could potentially use. They're basically creating the thing that Bethesda was jokingly teasing a while back. Valve, the awesome open source developers of the Linux community, and us players who choose to support them, lead gaming into a new era. A world whereas any Linux device can be your ultimate gaming machine. If you've enjoyed this video, then please make sure to show it with a like, and why not subscribe to the channel as well? Well, I certainly hope that Valve will push this vision through. In the end, we as customers decide which operating system we prefer. But maybe one day we'll get there. And one more thing before you go, I believe that this video is also interesting for you. What do I usually say here? Yeah, all that's left to say now is good morning, good afternoon or good evening, wherever you are. I'll see you around.